Well, that was a game. The Carolina Hurricanes lose game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals 5-0 to the Florida Panthers. And to paraphrase Captain Jordan Stahl, yeah, that was a butt whooping.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Hours, also the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Friday edition of the pod, we're going to be talking about whatever that game was on Thursday night for the Hurricanes, as they're now down 2-0 in the series against the Florida Panthers after losing 5-0 following Tuesday's 5-2 loss. Going to start the show talking about Andrei Svechnikov and probably one of his toughest games in a long time. Also going to talk about the team as a whole and how just uninspiring that game was following their 5-2 loss, like I said earlier this week. And then we're going to wrap up the show with what do they need to do to right the storm and get back into the series as it shifts over to Sunrise later this week on Saturday. To start off with, man, Andrei, you guys know I've been praising him all playoff long, and it was just a very tough night for 37. And, they asked Brad Burnmore after the game about Andrei Svechnikov. He had a tough night. I know he's trying, but we have to do it within the way we need to be on the same page. And he was on his own page. It didn't work. Yeah. Safe to say it didn't work when Andrei Svechnikov was a -3 in the entire game. Yeah. That was the worst plus-minus out of the entire team. That also includes Orlov and Walker being at -2s and Jack Roslovic at -2. But Andrei Svechnikov was a -3 in this game. It doesn't help in the first period where you give two bad turnovers. One of them was a very poorly backhand pass to the middle of the ice that was immediately stolen, and Florida capitalized on it. So there's two turnovers. That led to a goal, and then, of course, he gets a unnecessary penalty after kind of bumping Matthew Tkachuk somewhat into the bench for the Carolina Hurricanes, and then afterwards pops him in the back of the head and gets a 2-minute roughing penalty, which then leads to a third goal for the Panthers, which doesn't help because then at that point you're down 3-0 thanks to a Sam Bennett tipping goal. And of course, Florida does get two power play goals once again in back-to-back games, but that's here or there. When asking about Andrei about his tough night, he said, yeah, obviously I made a couple turnovers in our D zone and they kind of scored. My mistake totally. Can't do anything right now, so have to move on and think positively. Yeah, you definitely can think positively for sure and can't blame him for that because it's a tough night. You want to kind of learn from it and build on it. But, man, that was brutal. That was brutal to go and give up two turnovers that led to goals and then get a unnecessary roughing penalty when you're already down 2-0, you're already struggling, and then you see them capitalize while you're in the penalty box. Just an overall bad night for Svech. Like I said, he's been fine throughout the rest of the playoffs. So far, it's just that was a tough one. That's a game you cannot have if you're Andrei Svechnikov, knowing the fact that you guys got beat 5-2 the other night. You're only down. They score a minute 17 in. Okay, well, it's an early goal. It is what it is. And then, you're down. Then you're down 2-0 later in the period. Okay, it's unfortunate that you caused two turnovers in two plays that really should never have happened. To be down 2-0, and then you, like I said in the Wednesday and in the Thursday episode, you can't let your emotions take over and take the best of you, and they did. an unnecessary roughing penalty, and there you go, and there's 3 goals, and that's a tough start for the Carolina Hurricanes because you just lost 5-2, and then you go through the first period and you're down 3-0. And the bad part is you had 3 total shots the entire period. Florida scored as much goals as you had shots, and they had you can't do that. You can't have a period like that where you come in there, limp your way into a start, get lit up for 3 goals, and then you have 3 total. Like I said, it's just not a good thing to have. And like I said, I feel bad for Andrei because he's really trying. It's just, I said going into the Thursday show that the Hurricanes need to get back to their style hockey. In Florida, they play a similar style, but it's a little bit different compared to Carolina's. But it's basically, hard forechecking. They're going to be very aggressive, structured defense, find a way to, make you capitalize on your mistakes and absolutely just hound you. And Florida did that to Carolina. They neutralized them pretty much right from the start. And it's just the Hurricanes had no answer for them. And that's just tough when you have a guy like Svech who, you're hoping that you have a great game, goes out and has a rough night, like an absolute rough night, and all of it starts in the first period, and then you're down. And then you have 3 total shots. Frederick Anderson's getting left all alone on the island again for the second straight game. Could you say some of the goals are on him? Maybe. I don't know. You can't have 2 defensive turnovers in your own zone and then leave guys open to beat your goalie when he's having to do almost everything. So that's, I guess there is some debate on how many goals you could put on him. It's just, I feel bad for him, the fact that this is a bad stretch for him, but he got left a lot on an island to just be absolutely burned. And it's not a great start to have. It's not a great start to have. And the fact for Andrei, it's just, he really wants to try, but you have to be on the same page. And that's what's, like I said, that's why the Hurricanes need to play their style of hockey. And this was just not their style of hockey. This was just not what you wanted to see out of this team after just following a 5-2 loss. You come out and have a game like that. And for Andrei, you're talking 19 minutes and 40 seconds of total ice time. He had 22 shifts, no shots on goal, 5 hits, 0 blocks. That's tough, especially when you had 7 shots in the first 2 periods and you had 10 in the third, but Andrei having 0 shots and a -3 with some turnovers. Like I said, it's one game. This is probably his worst game that he's had in a very long time. This is, young Svech, where he's just committing unnecessary penalties and making plays that didn't need to happen. But, this is the second straight game now the Hurricanes got 5 on them. And, now they got shut out. Now they're down, they're getting outscored 10-2 in the series. And now you're down 2-0, and now it's heading back to Florida. It's just, if you want guys like Andrei to take you to the next level, they need to have better games, and that's just not one of them. And it's going to be eating him alive, tonight and all day Friday, having to know that, he contributed to a very bad first period. But like you said, it's got to be positive. You've got to take it away. It's like, hey, it's only 2 games. You still have the rest of the series to go. So, it's just one of those games like, hey, it's a learning experience. Do what you need to do to flush whatever that was down the toilet. Forget what happened. Learn from it, of course, but prepare yourself to have a better game in Game 3 because you're going to need it, because now you're down 2-0, and it's just a very tough spot to be in. But all the blame is not going to go on Andrei Svechnikov. Like, the reason why I have to talk about him in segment 1 is because that's, that was a tough start that kind of led to a very tough night. So it's just one of those things where it's like, wasn't a great game for Andrei. Didn't really help and put the Hurricanes in a bad spot. But, you still have to be optimistic of how the rest of the series is going to go for him, because he's going to want to try to turn around and do all he can. And like you said, he's had a great playoff so far, so maybe just, it's one of those things where it's just a bad game and hopefully kind of turns it around. But it just stinks. And it's not, and like I said, it's not all on him. We're going to talk more about in the second segment coming up, where it was a very uninspiring game from the entire team. So with that being said, let's talk about not just Andrei, but the whole team in general. So we'll do that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you a full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your money and finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Now, like I said, this game's not all on Andrei Svechnikov. Well, it didn't contribute very well. The fact that he had a -3 and definitely just not playing Hurricanes hockey, but Rod pretty much said it as well, as the fact that it's just, he said, obviously we've got to just figure out how to win a period. I think we came out with the right intentions, but it was trying to do too much, and then we're not doing the things as a team that normally help us. I didn't know what I was watching in the first period, and it didn't go well. The margin here is so tight. We're not going to beat this team if we're not on the same page. And tonight, for whatever reason, like I said, we weren't. Intentions were good. Everyone's trying. Okay, I'm going to do this, but that's not how we do it, and it just backfired. Yeah. That pretty much sums it up for Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes, like I said, because you had 7 shots total in the first 2 periods. And the bad thing is you had a power play at the end of that second period. Multiple passes, hesitant shooting, and you had the fans shouting, shoot the puck, multiple times in this game. And they even asked Jordan Staal about it. He goes, hey, I don't blame them. Jordan Staal said, I don't blame them. Talking about the fans. Because at that point, you had 7 shots. You can't just have, this team is so known for high volume shooting. And I said, one of my keys to this game was have quality over quantity. Now, when I said quantity, I'm not talking about 7 in 2 periods. I'm just talking about if you're going to have 30-something shots in a game, at least make Bobrovsky work for those opportunities. Instead, you had 3 in the first period, you had 4 in the second, and you finally had 10 in the third. But of course, it didn't matter at that point because you're already down 4-0. And at that, it's just what can you do with 10 shots? And of course, they didn't really do much because a lot of them were basically in his chest and his pads, shooting low. Which if you're playing Sergei Bobrovsky, got to shoot high. It just wasn't the case. And that, Rod says hey, we got all pulling. It was said by multiple guys, hey, we got all be pulling in the same direction. We didn't do that. Everyone was just trying to do their own thing, and it was just. The Hurricanes got away from their game for the second straight time. And I said, you need to get back in your game for game 2. You've got to play Hurricanes hockey for 60 minutes. You've got to play your system that got you here. And right now, it just seems like everyone's just doing too much. They're doing things that you see from other teams where it's like they're trying to do individual efforts and not as a team cohesive unit, which what the Hurricanes are. And, just bad breakout passes, just bad defensive structuring. They left Freddie out to dry multiple times, entering the zone and just coughing the puck up. They're not dumping and chasing. They're trying to one-man show it into the zone. They got 3 or 4 Panthers around them, and then offensive zone time is down. No inside danger area shots. A lot of them are perimeter shooting. And it was just a tough game overall. We were looking, and it's just there is just no cohesiveness at all. And the thing that the hesitant to see on the shots, I don't know why these guys are so afraid to shoot, especially game 1 wasn't as bad, but this one was very mind-boggling on the fact that you had a grand total of 17 shots and 10 of them came in the third period. Jack Roslovic had 3 and Jordan Martinook had 2. Those are your forwards with those shots. Jankowski, Hall, Blake, Robinson, Aho, and Jordan Stahl all had 1. Stankoven had 0. Seth Jarvis had 0. But I'm going to give Seth a break because he did get hit late by Nico Mikkola and had to miss some time. So he only played 14 minutes and 55 seconds, which outside of Jankowski, Blake, and Robinson was probably the lowest out of the normal top 6 guys. And then other guys who didn't put the puck on net, Carrier, and of course, like I said, Andrei Svechnikov, even though Andrei Svechnikov had 5 hits and a penalty in terms of shooting for your defense. Orlov had 3, Burns had 2, Jacob Slavin had 1. Ghost, Walker, and Morrow all had 0. And Sean Walker played 9 minutes and 52 seconds, and Morrow played 10:25. Brent Burns played 27 minutes. That was the most out of anyone, and Orlov played 24. Okay. It doesn't help when you have 17 shots and you have guys like it's Roslovic and Martinuk and Orlov and Burns leading the way, but you have 1 from the entire top line. You had 1 shot from your entire top line. And like I said, Seth I'll give a break to because he did get kind of a little woozy there for a little bit. But Andre with no shots, Aho with 1. Your top line needs to get going. And if your whole number 1 group has 1 total shot, you're not really going to go anywhere. Like I said, one of those guys you have to give a break to because he got injured. And Sean Walker didn't have a lot of ice time because he also had to miss some time as well. We don't know any updates on that yet, so hopefully we know something soon about Seth and Sean, because if they're not ready to, I mean, I know Seth came back, Walker came back too, but if they're not 100%, what does that look like for Game 3? Because you're still waiting for Jalen Chatfield to come back. But it's just overall, you can't just have Andre having no shots and Aho has 1. You can't really have that. And like I said, it was just uninspiring hockey. Like the PK goes 0 for 2, which is just a very bad look. Because you're talking about the best penalty kill unit in the entire league coming into this round, where they were 28 for 30. And they gave up 2 power play goals in the first 2 rounds. They've given up 4 power plays in the first 2 games. That's 2 each. They had 2 in 2 rounds, and each game they've given up 2 power play goals. And the power play outside of Jackson Blake's late power play goal in Game 1, it's also gone stone cold, and it was not great in this game. Just too many extra passes. Guys are just hesitant to shoot. Like there were some 2-on-1s in this game where they could have just shot and they try to go for the cute pass. And it's like, just put the puck on the net, shoot for the rebound, shoot off his pads, shoot on something just to get a rebound off. And it was just too many extra passes, just hesitant to shoot the puck. It's just a lot of pedestrian like plays where you're just kind of like, what, like, I guess I'm not trying to be so negative on this team, but like that's a tough game to look at and be like, what's a positive? What is a positive out of this game? Like a couple of your guys got banged up. You don't know what their health is right now. Frederick Anderson gets left on an island again, gives up 4 goals for the second time in 2 games, and he gave up 3 one time in the first 2 rounds. He's getting no help back there. Shot totals were down like crazy. PK went 0 for. Power play went 0 for. Like, Florida basically just imposed their will on you the entire game. Like what? Like there's honestly no positive. It's like, but also not trying to be overreactive to it as well, because it's only 2 games. It's definitely frustrating. It's definitely a frustrating game to watch because this isn't the Hurricanes team that we've been watching since the start of the playoffs. And of course, there's the conversation of the Metro was weak and all this stuff, even though the Capitals was like in a fight for the President's Trophy. And the Devils kind of limped in with a lot of guys that were hurt, but I mean, you still got in the playoffs for a reason. So it's like we're not just going to go look at the first 2 rounds and be like, it's a cakewalk for the Canes. No, they played really good hockey. Like they shut down the Capitals, who were the second most scoring team in the league, and had a really good power play, and the Devils had a 30% power play without Jack Hughes. So it wasn't like the Hurricanes were playing a bunch of guys who were just a bunch of bums. But yeah, you could definitely tell why the defending Cup champs are the defending Cup champs, and they added guys there. It's just not been a great start for the Hurricanes. They've not played their game, and it's just you got to figure out what you need to do next to right the storm. And honestly, let's talk about it. How can the Hurricanes right this storm? Stick around, and I'll try to explain as best as I can what this could be here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 2, trying to be negative. Is there a positive to come out of this? I'm not sure if there is any. What can the Hurricanes do to right the storm? And right now it's just get back. Get back to Hurricanes hockey. Simplify your game. I don't know what this extra passing is. I don't know what this falling out of your system. Like, it seems like they're trying to out physical Florida. They're trying to play their style, and that's not what got you there. Hurricanes hockey is what got you there. And I don't want to hear the narratives of, oh, the Hurricanes are facing a real team for the first time and they played a bunch of cupcakes in the first couple of rounds. Okay, yeah, the Devils were hurt in round 1. Hurricanes played in the first round with guys hurt before. Every team has. It stinks. It is what it is. But then you go look at Washington. They took care of the Washington Capitals, who like 18 out of 20-something ESPN analysts picked them to win. Of course, that's a whole different discussion on that. But my point being is the Hurricanes weren't favored in that series, and they took care of business in 5 games. So we know the Hurricanes can play some great hockey. We saw them dominate. Everyone talked about how great Carolina was in the first 2 rounds, how they just dominated their opponents. And now all of a sudden they're playing Florida, who plays a similar style as them, dump and chase better than them, board battles better than them, chase the pucks better than they have. Their quality of shots have been better than the Hurricanes. They scored 10 goals in the first 2 games. They put up 2 5 spots on a team that was basically shutting out their opponents. They gave up 7 goals the whole second round to the Capitals. Florida's got 10 in 2 games. They have to go back to Hurricanes hockey. Whatever they're trying to do with this one-man zone entry to 3 or 4 different Panthers, it's not working. You got to dump and chase. You got to get the forecheck going. You got to get be physical, but don't do what you're doing now where like you're out physicaling yourself to where you're just kind of trying to play the Florida system, which isn't your system. And that's what Rod's saying is we have to do what's been helping this team out in the past. And right now the Hurricanes have not done that. They've gone completely off the reservation of what their system actually is. And that's why for me, writing the storm for the Hurricanes, stop being so extra with the extra passes, the extra curriculars, the extra nonsense. That's not your game. Your game is to let your opponents get mad. You get under their skin. You make them make the stupid penalties. You make them do the stupid plays, and you take advantage of it. Don't gift them power plays. Don't gift them extra opportunities with turnovers. With backhand passes to nowhere in the middle of the zone, up the boards. Like, it's just, yeah, they're putting pressure on you, but you do the same thing to the other teams. You should know what you're expecting. They play the same style, essentially. Like I said, and I know this team can turn it around. We've seen them do it in the past. It's just right now it's at a bad time to be in a very struggling process of the season right now, especially when you're in the Eastern Conference Final. And yes, the whole narrative all up until Game 3 is going to be up. The Hurricanes have lost 14 consecutive Eastern Conference Final games. I'm already seeing it multiple times, and we're going to hear it for the next, all Friday and most of Saturday. Just, okay, we know. They're 0-14. They're 14 consecutive. Big whoop. Hey, you know what? At least they made the Eastern Conference Final a lot more than other teams have. So that's all I have to say to that. But It's a very bad time to struggle right now. It's a very bad time to get off your game. Like, the simplest thing I could say to how to fix this problem and how to write this storm out, just play your game. Play your game that's gotten you there. I don't know why it's just this, guys are going to do this little extra stuff and it's like you're trying to go off your own skill and not the system. Teams who try to go off of just pure skill don't go anywhere. There's no cohesiveness. That the Hurricanes they need to go back to the cohesive, forward driving mojo that this team had. You got here for a reason. You got here in 10 games because you played your game. You forechecked the other team to death. You backchecked really well. You had great man-to-man defense. The transition game was great. Breakout passes, dumping and chasing, north, south, east, west type of Hurricanes hockey. And right now it's like east. I thought you said west. That's what we're at right now. I feel like we're Patrick Starring it through the sand, looking for treasure, and not know how to read a compass. You're thinking east is west, and north is south, and however this is. Just you got to get the bearings back. Right the ship. Right the storm. Because this team can win games. We see them do it. We see them win on the road 3 times in this playoff. But right now, it's just, my goodness. Could it be a locker room player-only meeting? Sure. I don't know if we've had that one yet this year or not, but we knew they did one last season and it kind of worked. I don't know if they've done one this year. And like I said, I'm not trying to be overly negative or, overreacting. Like, this team stinks, blow it up, and this, that, and the other. No, it's not that serious. It's not that bad where it's like, blow up the team, get rid of Rod, do this and do that. No, it's just, it's a tough stretch the Hurricanes are in right now, and they have time to fix it. Like, yeah, you're down 2-0. It's not great. You're in a hole, but it's not like you're buried up to your neck, and now you're kind of like, how do you get out of this thing? You're not in the 3-0 stranglehold. Yeah, you're down 2-0. It's tough. You're going back to Sunrise. But luckily, the Panthers haven't really been great at home in the playoffs, so you might have some advantages because you've won on the road. Did it in Washington twice, Game 1 and Game 5. You took care of business against the Devils in Game 4 to go up 3-1 in that series. So we know you can win on the road. So it's the playoffs. Anything is possible. I mean, heck, Denmark just upsetted Canada in the men's world. So obviously anything can happen. Crazy stuff. That's just hockey. Crazy stuff happens. But it boils down to the Hurricanes need to play 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey. Like, fundamentally, back to the basics, what this system calls for. This extra man stuff, this extra passing, this extra, hey, I'm going to do this when usually we do that. It's just go back to your system. It's essentially that. I know it sounds dumb. I know it might sound cliche, or it's like, that's oversimplifying it. No, it's just if you have to restart something, go back to the foundation. That foundation is playing Hurricanes style of hockey. Forecheck, back check, transition game, man-to-man defense. Pull in the same direction as everyone else has, because you've been doing it all season. You've been doing it all playoffs. It's just, for me, it's that simple almost. It's just, if you want to reset the foundation, go back to what's worked. And that's your system. That being said, I don't know. It's going to be interesting on Saturday when the Hurricanes play in Game 3 against the Panthers. Of course, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. As usual, TNT, True TV, Max. If you're up in Canada watching, Sportsnet and CBC, of course, you can check out Mike and Trip on the radio at 99.9 The Fan. But Saturday will be very interesting. You're down 2-0. Can't afford to go down 3-0. And all I have to say is, hey, just go back to the basics. It sounds simple. It sounds stupid. It sounds however you want to put it. But it makes sense. If you need to reset it on the foundation. And that's the system. So it should be interesting how that goes. But at this point, you kind of just have to, like I said, once again, watch the tape, burn it, and move on to the next one. Unfortunately, Hurricanes are down 2-0 in series, outscored 10-2, got shut out 5-0 in probably one of their worst games in a very, very long time. But hey, you know what? Friday's a new day. Saturday's a new day. Game 3 is a new day. So hopefully you just got to look into the positives. Hey, there's an opportunity to turn this thing around, and I think the Hurricanes will do that. Because, hey, win or lose, we're all Hurricanes fans. We're all going to be cheering on our guys for the next game. So that's all we just got to do is like, hey, you know what? Game 2 is what it is. It's game 3. Anything can happen. So we'll see how Saturday goes for your Carolina Hurricanes against the Florida Panthers. Until then, will be the Friday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is @L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where I do have link trees in my bios where you can find all of my written content about the Hurricanes at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, it's the Surgecast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, of course, Locked On Hurricanes, Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating or review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you don't miss the show. Thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share it with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Friday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and until next time, as always, let's go Canes.